Welcome to the Draft Board Hockey Show. I'm Mark and my boy Linc from New Wave Hockey. What is going on, my friend?
Not much, not much. Having a good time. It's summer's in full swing. We are just over a week actually from the
Yes, a
draft.
week
It's
can
gonna happen
change. A
in,
week can
in,
change,
in
man.
10 days, June
Yes.
27th. I am super, super excited. I published my last scouting report of the year, and I'm now working on my 150. It's
Nice.
yeah, we're going to work on it, so
That's
it's
what we're
gonna be
going to talk
fun.
about next week. We're going to talk about our rankings. I should have mine completed by the weekend, hopefully. Lots of stuff going on right now, but we got lots to talk about. Let's get into it. Well, Edmonton, Florida tonight. Whew. Edmonton, come on. Bring it to
It's
game seven. Bring it to game
it's
seven. Let's go.
it's tough. I'm rooting for you guys. I really am. Honestly, I've been anti-Canada when it comes to a hockey perspective for most of the year. I'm rooting for Canada tonight, rooting for Edmonton. Hope they come out with the W.
Yes,
They just need to score the first goal. That's all they need. That's
that's
what they
it.
got to
That's
get
it.
doing. So
Get that lead. Let's go. Let's go. All right. So one of the first things that we wanted to talk about was Craig Button came out with his latest rankings.
oh my God.
All right. So we got So we got Schaefer, Misa, Frondell, Martone, McQueen at 5. That's a hot take. That is
Brady,
a hot
yeah.
take.
I will
Woo.
say that's especially a hot take because McQueen and Martin are ahead of Denoyer and Higgins, which I'm like, what Craig, come on.
I mean,
Come on.
listen. There's room for discussion that Martin, because of the style of hockey that he plays, in terms of the real draft. However, McQueen, though, there are some questions about his health. I was listening to a pod and it was saying that like he came back, but then he missed a game before the playoffs, and then he missed the last game of the playoffs actually as well. You get, you get that Caden Lindstrom kind of feel. Are you worried? You know what I mean? And it's funny because they said the same thing with Lindstrom. They said, "Oh, it's not a big deal," And he missed a full year and change. So you got to worry about those kind of things, especially it's an investment for those NHL teams.
Here's where I kind of put my worries a little bit aside. I'm on the optimistic side with Roger McQueen. Yes, he missed a lot of the year with a back injury. Red flags should be at everybody's door. And obviously, he missed the last game of the playoffs. But then again, so did Michael Misa. And he went to the combine. He performed, he did everything at the combine. And he was answering questions and was being I feel that he was very truthful with the interviews and was saying that his back issues aren't a concern to be chronic. So we'll see how that happens. Obviously, there are some teams, they've done their homework. They're debating that question as we speak. So we will see who will be taking Roger McQueen. I don't think it's too much of a reach. Definitely over Higgins and Denoyes. I'm like, okay, let's be real here. Yeah, that's not even the worst part of the discussion. Let's move on and let's see.
Let's see what else
Whew.
we got here. So
Yeah.
we got Radim Murtka at 9, Eklund 10, O'Brien 11, Ivan Kovic at 12. Holy, whoa, okay. Whoa, what do you think of
I
that? Like, I'm not a big goalie kind of yeah, I'm not too sure about the goalie situation. I mean, I've seen him, we saw him at the U18s and he was spectacular, but I don't know. What do you think?
I'm not convinced at all. Look, I still am of the belief that they should have brought Ravensburgen to the World Juniors over Ivan Kovic. Technically, Ravensburgen didn't have a better year from a save percentage standpoint, but I still believe he's the better talent. Ivan Kovic is somebody that I kind of have some massive worries about. I don't even know if he's going to finish in my top 100. I know that might be a hot take for some people, but I have one, 5'11", and two, he's not going to be a Dustin Wolf kind of player. I don't think he has some rebound control. That kind of scares me a little bit, especially as a smaller goalie. So I don't know. I don't feel like he had a good enough season to kind of justify to being not only in the first round, but top 15. I don't think, I mean, because obviously this is like the highest ranked goalie we've seen in the first round since like a Spencer Knight or Yaroslav Askarov, and Ivan Kovic is not either of those. So
Yeah.
I don't know, Mark. Like, do I sound nuts? Am I, like, are we?
Like I said,
am I taking?
I'm not a big.
Am I
I'm
taking
not a big
crazy pills?
goalie.
What's going on?
I'm not a big goalie pundit, but just from what I've been reading, I don't know if that's the spot for him. All right, moving on. Jackson Smith at 13, Cole Reshny 14, Kashan Aitchison 15, Malcolm Spence 16, Carter Bear 17, Carbano at 18. That's a little low.
low.
Keep going. Keep on going.
Keep
Let's
going.
see if
I'll
there's
keep
any
going.
other crazy ones here.
Cameron Schmidt's a little high, but
Yeah, you know what? He had Cameron Schmidt at 1.8 overall. So
Yeah.
at least he dropped them down to 19, which we'll give. Oh, there's your Milton Gastrin. He's at 21.
That's my boy. We'll be talking about him today.
Ivan Ryabkin at 24 is a little high for my liking. Logan Hensler's low. Kindle, 27. Boumedienne, 28. There's Ravensbergen, Riker Lee, Stakelius, and William Moore. Keep going. There's a few people in here. Like he's put Jack Nesbitt lower. He's put Blake Fiddler lower.
This one was kind of nuts for me.
Cullen Potter at 50.
At 50.
Yeah, that's a little low.
Okay. Just looking at this list, Carter Amico too. Jeez, all right.
So, yeah, he's got some. You know what? I'm the one I'm waiting for is Bob McKenzie, and I think that should be out.
Yeah,
next week. Usually comes in like the week. Or is it this week? Actually, it might be this Thursday. It's usually like a week before the draft, I think it is. So I'm hoping Bob McKenzie, he's the man. He's the one that when you see his rankings.
Bobby Marks.
Yes. I love it.
I love him. So he's usually the one that I kind of like follow as like this guy knows what he's talking about. But
yeah, you know what? Even but even McKenzie, since he's kind of been semi-retired now, he's not as accurate as he used to be, but he's still the best. Like in my opinion, like he's still the best. But he's awesome. Bobby Mack, Bobby Margarita, whatever you want to call him, he's the man when it comes to draft rankings. Always love seeing what he has to say. Anything else in the world of hockey news that we want to talk about?
Honestly, I'm geared up for the draft at this point. I'm so excited. For the draft. Obviously, this next Stanley Cup game tonight, and hopefully the one after it will be incredible games that I can look forward to. But as you all know, here on this podcast, we love the draft. It's literally the draft board. So we're just counting down the days until our big live stream.
Finally, we're getting close. Yes, it's going to be phenomenal. We're going to pump that next week for sure. All right,
for sure.
Milton Gastrin versus Sascha Boumedienne. And so the reason why we did these two players, even though they're, two different leagues, two different, a D and a forward, we did it because Linc has Milton Gastrin in the first round and I have Sascha Boumedienne in the first round. And I mean, there's still room that I might put Milton Gastrin in the first round. I don't know yet. I got to go over my list. I got to check everything a couple times over again. So we are going to discuss the Gastrin versus Boumedienne. So we're going to start off with Milton Gastrin. He had played in the J20 in the Swedish League, had a couple of stints with the SHL, but had 42 points in 40 games. He's a 6'1", 194-pound centerman. Had a pretty good showing at the U18s, 10 points in 7 games. And yeah, I it's not that I don't like him. Can I fit him in my first round? That's the question. Give me your spiel as to why Milton Gastrin is a first rounder for you.
Well,
Linc, let's go.
As I've been a huge fan of him the entire year, I have been. So I've been consistent with this. At one point, and Mark has grilled me for this. I had him at 13 at one point of my rankings, but I've come back. I've been more reasonable. He's probably going to slot around the 20s spot for me, and I feel like after a certain point in the first 15 to 18 picks in this draft, the risk reward becomes more risk than reward, and you need somebody who is going to give you stability and still has a possibility to play that second line position for you. I think your answer is here in Milton Gastrin. He plays a very hard-nosed style of hockey. He's one of the sneaky best skaters in this draft. I really like his speed, and he's just he's so willing to go into corners. He's so willing to use physicality. He's a great transition player. I found that he's been really, really effective in the offensive zone as well. Yes, a lot of this was done in the J20, but when you looked at what he played, how he played in international tournaments, in the World Junior A Challenge, and also in the U18s, where he was the captain of Team Sweden over Anton Frondell, Jakobi Wozniak, Eddie Genborg, a lot of other high-flying Swedes.
Well, yeah, but Frondell wasn't even there at the beginning of the tournament. So, I mean, I don't know. Would they give him the captaincy once he comes over? Like, I mean, that's a question. But no, I get it. Listen, hey,
I still have, Frondell above Gastrin. Come on, as anyone would. But
so now let's get to the tape real quick, and then you can chat them up here. So let's see what we got here.
Let's move a little. Let's wait a little bit for this clip to develop. So here we go. In the middle of the ice, Gastrin wearing number 49 goes over to the side, and look at this passing ability. Able to find the open man right there, cut the lead, down by one. Really like his ability to pass. He's been able to work from the slot and work from the boards really well. I like a man who can also cut through the middle of the ice. He's been able to do that with his physicality. However, obviously, sometimes he struggles holding on to the puck. Obviously, he's not someone I'm ranking in my top 15, but he's able to get it done offensively, and he's still a big guy at 6'1", 193. I really like the offensive upside. That's the one thing that I've been pushing throughout the year, that I think he has higher offensive upside than a lot of people think. So I think he's, at the end of the day, he's a really solid player. Looking at this next clip here. All right. Starting a new possession for Modo here. Dangles through. Nice shot there by Mr. Gastrin.
Nice read. Okay.
So I think it's a matter of, he's a very opportunistic player. He's very good at anticipation. I like his IQ. I like the way that he plays with and without the puck. I think he has a very respectable offensive upside, and I think he can top out at potentially a second line center or wing role. That's kind of how I felt the entire year. Mark, your concerns?
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know if he has that offensive upside. I mean, he had 42 points in 40 games in the J20, which is okay. It's not really anything that jumps out at you. He, like you said, yeah, he's probably a middle six type player. The thing is that I don't know. I think he's just, something that you need, something that jumps out to you. Like, in my opinion, if you're a first rounder, I would take swings for certain players, right? So, for example, I'm trying to think of a player in about that range that would. So, like, say maybe someone like a Jack Nesbitt. Do you have him ahead of Jack Nesbitt?
I do have him ahead of Jack Nesbitt. Jack Nesbitt still is in and around my first round, but I will see where he ends up. He's still someone that I'm still like finalizing a ranking for. But yeah, he's again 6'4" center, can skate.
Yeah. I you know what? I don't see anything that jumps out on the page for me for Gastrin. Like, he does everything well, but he doesn't do anything extremely well, in my opinion. I don't know. I like his work ethic. I like you said, he's good along the boards. He's not afraid to cut to the middle, hit those dirty areas, which is really nice to see. Yeah, he's on the bubble for me, to be honest with you. I'm trying to think of all the players in and around that range. Like I said, Jack Nesbitt is one of them. Someone like Shane Van Sage might be another person that he's big, he's mean.
Shane's in my first round, as you know as well. So
no, and that's why I just like Shane. Like, that's the kind of guy that he's probably more of a third liner. Shane Van Sage. Gastrin could possibly run a second line, yeah. So which is nice, and he's younger because Shane Van Sage is a 06 born. Yeah, you know what? It's just, and then if you go, so now we go Gastrin or my pick, Sascha Boumedienne, who's playing at Boston University, and he's a 2007 playing at the NCAA level already. Had 13 points in 40 games as a defenseman, which is not bad actually. He's 6'2", 184-pound left shot D. Now, had himself a really nice U18s. Obviously, I think he broke the record, right, for defensemen at the U18s?
I believe he did, yeah. I think he did.
Yeah, I mean, but he had some fluff games. I think there was one game where he got 6 points against, I think it was Switzerland, which, I hate those.
We're about to see a goal from him from then.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's tee this up here. We're gonna tee up his.
Boom. Look at that
So,
shot.
yeah, that one went quick. Let's replay that. So he comes up from the top here and boom. Yes. Yeah, it's he didn't show the offensive chops at the NCAA level. However, I think that being one of the youngest, there was 307 born players in the NCAA, him being one of them. So yeah, you know what? I think that there's just more room to develop, and I think that teams are going to look at that. They're going to say he played in the NCAA, did okay. He's got some consistency issues. There's sometimes the decision making is questionable, but I think that's something as a defenseman, a young defenseman, especially playing in the NCAA level. That is a tough league for any youngster, especially freshman. And he
Especially
was
in the Hockey East as well.
And Hockey East, yeah. And you know what? And I thought that you could see that sometimes he was a little bit lagging, I guess you could say, on his decision making, or did things when he shouldn't have. And I think that those are kind of things that can be hemmed out, though. And next year, as an 18-year-old, still young for the NCAA level, I think that you're going to see a better Boumedienne playing for Boston.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do like Boumedienne. He's not someone who's gonna. I think he might be close to my first round. I don't think he will be in my first round. There were 6 18-year-olds or players who were draft eligible in their draft year seasons in the NCAA this year, and it was Hagens, Potter, then Saggy, and then the 3 defensemen Hensler, Boumedienne, and Rayon Mullen. And at some point, all 6 were criticized for making the jump too early. And Boumedienne and Hensler and Rayon Mullen, being the defenseman, kind of got the bulk of those criticisms. And I feel like it was a little premature for a guy like Hensler. I think he rounded out to a great prospect. Boumedienne, I feel like he got better as the year went along, but I still do feel like he made the jump a little early. I didn't feel that his skating was great outside of the offensive zone all year. I mean, he performed really admirably at the World Junior at the World AU18s this season. So there is definitely some upside there, but he did look slow in a very fast conference that is the Hockey East. It's good that he's going to be in Boston at BU for at least the next 3 years. So it's good to see that, but I don't feel like, to me, he did enough to be a first rounder. I still feel like there's some flaws in his game for me. I would take a few other defensemen, namely a BU commit, Carter Amico.
Loves his Amico. I love
my Carter Amicos. But no, I do really like Boumedienne. He was very high coming into my year, and I just felt like he was a little bit disappointing. But again, there's a strong case for him as well that U18 really bumped up his stock, even for me. So it's good to see. I really like the case.
Yeah, I'm always hesitant to bump guys based on their U18s. I'm always I don't like doing that. I don't like bumping players or dropping players based on a weekend, well, not a weekend, but a week-long tournament. So, for example, Anton Frondel didn't show so well at the U18s. And I'm sure that, people are like, well, I don't know if this guy should go 3rd overall to Chicago or in the top 5 or whatever because of that. But I saw, like I said, I've said this before, I saw things at that tournament that were advanced plays compared to the peers on the ice at the time. There's a few times when he did stuff and I'm like, whoa. And the play didn't develop, but I don't think it was because of him. I think that maybe some of his line mates, didn't expect or didn't know what to do in that situation, to be honest with you.
I feel the same way.
Yeah. I just, there was plays I was like, this kid's really good. And so, you know what? It's one of those things, and he's big and whatnot. But Sascha Boumedienne, he's going to be a work in progress for sure. I think that a team might take him I got him late first, early second.
He's in my early second, so I could see it.
Yeah, I'd say he floats around that area. In terms of like mocks, I might put him in the first because I'm not one for. The NHL don't draft short players, and we've seen it time and we've had this conversation before about the Brinleys and the Crystals and stuff like that who put up really nice numbers in their draft eligible years and drop down to the second round. And the same thing could be said for, like, say, the Kindles or the Reshneys or the Schmitz. A lot of people might have them ranked in their top 32, but realistically, mock time, I don't know if they're gonna make it that jump. Whereas a player like Sascha Boumedienne, and Milton Gastrin should jump up into the first round because of their size and their abilities, right? So yeah, it's going to be we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. I think a good kind of call to attention that we can make here for all of that. Just two players last year that I had completely different ranks. I was really high on a guy like Teddy Stiga last year, and he fell all the way to the third round. Meanwhile, a guy like Sam O'Reilly, for his two-way play and kind of defensive and physicality, went in the first round. Yeah. So that's kind of what a testament to what teams kind of judge. Different teams have different types of boards, including what they need now. So I don't think either team was wrong for drafting when they drafting who they drafted and when. But yeah, so it's kind of a cautionary tale.
They have their reasons. And you know what? The funny you mentioned Stiga. I love Stiga too last year.
I love him too.
Because, I go to the NTDP games a lot, and Stiga night in and night out was very consistent and a very good player.
I will say I gloated a lot about my draft position of Stiga when he scored that golden goal. Oh my gosh. I was on Twitter and like, guess who had him high? This guy.
That's awesome. Yeah, you know what? Like I said, he's a player that stood out game in and game out, or night in and night out. That kid, Stiga, yeah. So, and you know what? He's being rewarded, like you said. That overtime goal was phenomenal. All right, what is next, Linkaroo? We got follower questions. Yes. All right, Link, what do we got going on today?
So we got a lot of floods of Montreal questions. So we're going to start off with these first two here that I have at the top. First from Darcy Bagley, 3816. What will Montreal do with their extra first-round pick? Will it be used to move up, trade for someone like Barzal or Zegras, or just keep their pick? There's another question about that down there too, but I will get to that in a second. I think This is very interesting because Montreal, as we all know, is a team that likes to dazzle and flash at the NHL draft. We saw it last year with Ivan Demidov, and this year they have two picks back to back in the middle of the round. Are they going to trade up? Are they going to stay pat? Are they going to move both picks for a player?
What do you think? It's hard to move up. I think it's going to be hard to move up. I don't. Especially you're in your 16, 17 range. I think you got to look at the tiers. You got to look at any NHL teams have tiers, right? So if, like, say they got a grouping of 5 guys and they say, if we move up 4 spots, we can still get one of those 5 guys and it won't affect our draft stock. And then, so Montreal, they might say that. They might be like, okay, listen, or it might get closer to their picks and they see how the draft's falling and they say, oh, we might land 2 guys that we want. I think they probably want something that they want a prospect that's going to be in the lineup sooner than later, because they're a pretty young team and they're on the, made the playoffs, obviously. And I think that, all things are leading to a good place for the Montreal Canadiens. So I don't know. I think it's going to be an interesting, you never know what these teams think.
The last time a top 10 pick was traded from my memory, was in 2022 when Chicago acquired, I think, Ottawa's 7th pick in the 2022 draft. And they picked, I think, Kevin Korchinski with that pick. Ever since then, the last 2 drafts, there have not been any trading in the top 10. It's very rare for teams to just give up on a top 10 pick for really anything. So me thinking 2 first-round picks should move the needle, especially in a year like this. But the talent pool thins out by 16 and 17. That's what the Montreal is experiencing. So they're just going to have to pick up whoever they don't get. Me personally, if I was the GM, I would stay pat until I hear something that's absolutely out of this world. Like I would open them up for trading, but I'm not gonna give away both picks for nothing. So we'll see.
No, you know what? And I think that, according to the box and stuff like that, they could land like a half decent right shot defenseman. You got like Logan Hensler and Blake Fiddler in and around that range. And then you got some tougher players too, like Malcolm Spence might, be in that kind of range too. So why would you, move up lose a pick or whatever, or 2 picks, and move up to, when you could potentially land, like, I think the drop off for this draft is around the 20 range, so they might
Yeah.
land something decent inside of that 20.
So that actually leads into the next question that is posed here, right
Oh,
under, is Michel Lapointe dash HR3. If my French Canadian is failing me, I'm sorry. What would be the best realistic pick for Montreal at 16 to complete a Hage Demidov duo?
woo.
Now, I have seen Twitter lit up ablaze with just comparisons to who would fit really well on the Hage Demidov line. I think I have like 2 to 3 solutions. I know there's a fourth one that I'm not gonna say that people are gonna be like, why didn't you mention this guy? So I think Lakovic would fit in really well with them. Maybe a bit. He might be a bit puck hoggy for those two. I like Malcolm Spence and what he can turn into with those duo. I might like him the best out of them, but I also really, really like Justin Carbonneau, as everyone knows.
So yeah, but the problem is that if you're a Montreal, if you're a Quebec-born prospect, it is tough. You have to have tough skin to play in Montreal. Otherwise, so they typically don't really go too high on those. But Justin Carbonneau would be awesome. Now, the other thing is that Malcolm Spence, little tidbit, had a mouth injury that he dealt with all year and lost like 15 pounds. At one point, he was wearing a fishbowl, and so he had a tongue laceration, and it got infected, and he couldn't eat. So he lost like 15 pounds. He dropped, like, he was like regular 210, I think, and he dropped down to 195. So wow. I just found that out. So I'm
finding that out right now from you. This is nuts.
Yeah. So I think that, we might be a little harsh because he didn't really pop off this year, but he was dealing with losing weight, probably weak, eating soft foods for, I don't know how long it was, but if you look at some of the clips, you'll see that he had a full bubble on, and that's why.
I've stayed pretty consistent on Malcolm Spence. He stayed in my top 15 the entire year. And I really like the kid. I really do. I think what he can bring is fantastic.
He's that guy. He's that guy. He's a playoff player. That's the kind of guy. Like you said, you stick him on a line with Hage and Demidov, forget about it.
Just wait till he's at Michigan with Michael Hage.
And next year, yes. So there was concerns about his skating and some of his decision making, but you go to UMich, watch out.
People can talk about his skating all they want. I believe it was really more of a compete issue, and if he's dealing with a mouth injury the entire year and an infection, that would explain the issue a lot. He's able to take over a game whenever he wants to. I've seen it happen. He can literally be that player that can do that. I loosely compare him to the Kachucks because I know he has that just mash and dash type of mentality. I think at Michigan he's gonna tear up the Big Ten, maybe physically, if not points wise.
Well, so and wait a minute, who's at UMich?
Michael Hage.
Yes,
of course. It's the center wing comparison. Then we mashed Demidov with that. There you go.
Line them up early, line them up in university, and then ship them off to Montreal, and everyone's happy.
I will say I did not mention Carter Bear in that conversation, which I know you're a fan of. I personally am a little bit lower on Carter Bear, but he is someone who people draw comparisons to Brendan Gallagher, and I completely understand why. Yep. So that could be an option as well. So obviously, all power to you if you like whatever flavor you like your Hage Demidov line. So,
all right, next question.
So here we go. We've got a concerned Utah fan here. Jim Little 5769. People keep saying Utah should trade down. For what? Question mark. Even more draft picks? We have a loaded farm system, tons of draft picks coming in this draft or next two. Also, I love how all of a sudden everyone is predicting Utah to take Brady Martin. This is kind of a rose in the last week and a half since the combine. Brady Martin going 4th to Utah. I have my own opinions on this. I still think 4th overall is going to be big size. Could be Porter Martone, could be Caleb Denoye, but I still have a sneaking suspicion that Jackson Smith is still in the running at that fourth position. What do
Ooh.
you think about four? It's really where the draft for me kind of blows up.
Yeah, I mean, so Utah has predominantly drafted big. However, I think that you can't pass up skill. And I don't care, you know what I mean? The Logan Cooley's of the world. And, how can you pass on someone like, say, of course, you know who I'm going to say, right?
James Higgins.
Yeah. How can you pass up on James Higgins? I like if he is there at fourth overall, I'm calling it right now, and I think I've said this before. I said James Higgins is going to have himself a year next year in the NCAA, and he's going to be a Hobie Baker candidate.
He's my Hobie Baker pick right now.
He's going to tear it up next year. I'm calling it right now. I just know that he is, and I can't see Utah passing out. I think that it might be. I think they're just throwing up smoke just to kind of so that people think that James Higgins. I don't know, because why would they say we want Higgins and then Chicago takes Higgins at third overall, right? I think they're throwing up a little smoke like, we're not interested in Higgins. We want Martin. But then they take Higgins.
It's interesting. Look, if you really like Martin, I would say trade back, because I feel like there's a Boston team that really wants to get up into that top four. Yeah. Philly is always they're always scheming.
Briere is he's a madman.
Briere could want Higgins that bad. I certainly do. So yes. We'll see. But obviously the fourth overall pick, it's kind of just in the air. So we will see what happens with that.
So that's it, Link. Guess what? Next week we're going to talk about our final rankings. We're gonna go head to head. Or no, we're going to do a mock, right? We're going to do a mock. We're going to say, who do we think this person taken? We'll go back and forth.
The plan was we were going to talk about kind of every team. We won't go on every pick in succession, but we will at least talk about every team that has a pick in the first round. We'll give our thoughts on who we think they're going to be targeting. And it'll be fun. It's going to be our last podcast before the draft, and then our big draft live stream. Yes. So excited for that.
Yes.
That's going to be
my God.
hyped.
I got lots of stuff prepared for that. It's going to be phenomenal. We're going to have a blast, but that's it for today, everyone. Hey, listen, thanks for watching. Follower questions, you know where to drop them. And next week, we're going to be talking. We're going to do a little kind of mock back and forth, see what teams. So if you have any questions as to, who do you think should go where, let us know in the comments section below. And that's it for today, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll see you soon. Cheers.